arena is united by their love, and you know that. Do we know that? Everyone, united by their love for this country and their loyalty to one another, their loyalty to its people. And we want people to come into our country who can love us and cherish us and be proud of America and the American flag. We believe that schools should teach our children to have pride in our history and respect for that great American flag. We all believe in the rule of law, and we support the incredible men and women of law enforcement. Thank you. Thank you for being here. The Russia story is a total fabrication. It's just an excuse for the greatest loss in the history of American politics. That's all it is. It just makes them feel better when they have nothing else to talk about. What the prosecutors should be looking at are Hillary Clinton's 33,000 deleted emails, and they should be looking at the paid Russian speeches and the owned Russian companies. Or let them look at the uranium she sold that is now in the hands of very angry Russians. Most people know there were no Russians in our campaign. There never were. We didn't win because of Russia. We won because of you. That I can tell you. We won because we totally outworked the other side. We won because millions of patriotic Americans voted to take back their country. Have you seen any Russians in West Virginia or Ohio or Pennsylvania? Are there any Russians here tonight? Any Russians? They can't beat us at the voting booths. So they're trying to cheat you out of the future and the future that you want. They're trying to cheat you out of the leadership you want with a fake story that is demeaning to all of us, and most importantly, demeaning to our country and demeaning to our Constitution. I just hope the final determination is a truly honest one, which is what the millions of people who gave us our big win in November deserve, and what all Americans who want a better future want and deserve. The media can attack me, but where I draw the line is when they attack you, which is what they do. When they attack the decency of our supporters. You are honest, hardworking, tax-paying, and by the way, you're overtaxed, but we're going to get your taxes down. You're tax-paying Americans who love our nation, obey our laws, and care for our people. It's time to expose the crooked media deceptions and to challenge the media for their role in fomenting divisions. And yes, by the way, they are trying to take away our history and our heritage. You see that. And I say it, and you know, we're all pros. We're all like, we have a certain sense. We're smart people. These are truly dishonest people. And not all of them. Not all of them. You have some very good reporters. You have some very fair journalists. But for the most part, honestly, these are really, really dishonest people. And they're bad people. And I really think they don't like our country. I really believe that. And I don't believe they're going to change, and that's why I do this. If they would change, I would never say it. The only people giving a platform to these hate groups is the media itself and the fake news. Oh, that's so funny. Look back there. The live red lights, they're turning those suckers off fast, I'll tell you. They're turning those lights off fast. Like CNN. CNN does not want its falling viewership to watch what I'm saying tonight, I can tell. I mean, the advantage I have is that we do have a big voice. And you know, they're always saying, like, Twitter or social media. If I didn't have social media, I wouldn't be able to get the word out. I probably wouldn't be standing here, right? I probably wouldn't be standing here right now. If I don't have social media, I probably would not be standing. And do you ever notice when I go on and I'll put, like, out a tweet or a couple of tweets, he's in a Twitter storm again. I don't do Twitter storms. You know, you'll put on a little tweet, I'm going to be with the veterans today. They'll say, Donald Trump is in a Twitter storm. These are sick people. You know the thing I don't understand? You would think they'd want to make our country great again. And I honestly believe they don't. I honestly believe it. If you want to discover the source of the division in our country, look no further than the fake news and the crooked media. We also understand that immigration security is that's really a national treasure, but it's a national security. We need national security for safety. We're going to keep radical Islamic terrorists out of our country. Sorry. Call up some of the other countries in the world, say, how you doing, folks? Not so good. We're creating an immigration system that puts American workers and American families first. In our campaign for the presidency, we defied the pundits, the politicians, and the special interests because ours was a movement of the people, and it really was. It was a movement of you. It was a movement of the people. It was a movement to make America great again. It's happening. That's happening.
And coming up, the fake news, liberal mainstream destroy Trump media has been exposed in all of their efforts to damage and destroy President Trump. We're going to show you the worst examples of this extreme bias. That and more in the special edition of Hannity.
Now say the suspect, 37-year-old Matthew Riel, was an attorney and an Iraq war veteran. He had been posting online videos in recent months criticizing professors and law enforcement officials. Authorities say Riel fired more than 100 rounds in his Denver area apartment before he was killed by a SWAT team. 4 officers and 2 civilians were also injured. A just released report shows 2017 was the safest year for commercial air travel ever. According to a Netherlands-based company, there were 111 accidents and 13 deaths worldwide. The 2 fatal accidents both involved small regional planes. According to the report, that's a rate of 1 fatal accident for every 16 million commercial flights. That's a look at news. I'm Kelly Wright. Now back to our special.
And welcome back to the special edition of Hannity, President Trump's first year. As we have now been highlighting on this show, the liberal mainstream destroy Trump media, well, they have been massive purveyors of fake news, all in an attempt to hurt and undermine President Trump and his agenda. Now, since President Trump took office, the spreading of fake news and outright lying has now reached unprecedented levels, which has now created a massive informational crisis in this country. Now, before we show you the worst of the worst examples from the mainstream media, well, let's first go back and look at how everyone in the press said that Donald Trump was never, ever going to win. They were laughing up a storm at the thought that he could win. Remember this.
Donald Trump has been saying that he will run for president as a Republican, which is surprising since I just assumed he was running as a joke.
Do it. Look at me. Do it. I will personally write you a campaign check now on behalf of this country, which does not want you to be president, but which badly wants you to run.
We better be ready for the fact that he might be leading the Republican ticket.
Next, I know you don't believe that, but I want to go on to write it down.
Sorry to laugh. President Obama will go down as perhaps the worst president in the history of the United States! Exclamation point at real Donald Trump. Well, at real Donald Trump, at least I will go down as a president.
That's like my favorite video, the media dead wrong. Now, the president's stunning victory, it did set the stage for the intense media backlash against his administration. Here are some of the worst examples of abusive bias from your partisan press. Take a look.
America is crying tonight. I'm not sure how much of America, but a very, very significant portion, and I mean literally crying. Yeah. This is a sadness. It is a mourning moment for those people, and it is a moment filled with fear.
Pretty extraordinary thing to say. If you have a son in the Marine Corps and that you don't trust the commander-in-chief. The people in the military defend the Constitution.
This was a white lash. This was a white lash against a changing country. It was a white lash against a black president in part.
There's a sign out there that's been hung up in the White House or outside the White House saying, if you're not white, you're not especially welcome.
This is a man who is not well. He alternated between being a whiny 6-year-old who's had his Nintendo taken away and between being the cranky old man who's out there condemning everyone who doesn't worship him adequately.
Donald Trump, short of only maybe Woodrow Wilson and Andrew Jackson, is being himself more than any other previous president with disgraceful racial views.
He said today, America first. It was not just the racial, the Hitlerian background to it.
Is Donald Trump competent to be president?
President Trump say America first. Tonight, President Trump put himself first.
A little whiff of fascism tonight, I think it's fair to say.
Absolutely.
Trump's critics, those who are worried about this president and this White House, saw a live special television event brought to you by narcissism, thin skin, chaos, and deeply personal grievances.
Donald Trump is a president with whom there is grave question about his fitness and ability to conduct the office of the president.
Donald Trump is Jesus to followers of Jesus who've rejected the teachings of Jesus. Donald Trump allowed right-wing Christians to finally vote for Caligula, Judas, and the golden calf.
Here you have a deranged president or a pathologically lying president lying about the operations of the American government and lying about the previous president of the United States. That's enough to invoke the 25th Amendment, but Mike Pence and the cabinet are not there yet.
I understand why so many people voted for him. I understand where you were coming from. I understand why you liked him. But this man is lying to you.
But first, we want to start with This Week in Russiagate.
It is as if there are no shoes on the Trump human centipede that are not about Russia. Russia, Russia, Russia.
This cloud about collusion with Russia will hang over him no matter where he stands.
It certainly feels like we're in the opening stages of a devastating political chapter in American history. Evidence is mounting for the president's meddling in the Russia probe.
Tom Friedman said the election hacking is at the caliber of a Pearl Harbor or a 9/11. Do you agree with that?
I completely agree with that. Donald Trump now sits at the threshold of impeachment.
You told the Washington Post last week that, quote, there's a smell of treason in the air when it comes to this investigation.
A lot of people are afraid to use the T word, treason, but in the end, that's what people are investigating.
If you think you've had an earful of Donald Trump, check out what's in the ear of a beagle in Britain named Chief. Brace yourself.
Is this president trying to impersonate Hugo Chavez, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, Vladimir Putin?
Apparently, the president gets 2 scoops. You know, everyone else around the table gets 1, and no word if there were sprinkles.
At the dessert course, he gets 2 scoops of vanilla ice cream with his chocolate cream pie instead of the single scoop for everyone else.
He's gained weight, according to these sources. He doesn't trust people around him. He's withdrawing. Not a good picture.
If he wants to say that, Barack Obama wants to say whatever. If George Bush says, I looked in his eyes
if he took a dump on his desk, you would defend it.
Now he's President Snowflake, okay? Everything he said, oh, they're mean to me and they don't like me and I just don't understand.
What a populist. Oh, way to stand up to Goldman Sachs, Mr. President. We're really proud of you, buddy.
Good
way
on
to
ya.
go.
Why don't you get another Time
you're
magazine
a populist.
cover? Nothing makes a man feel better than making a fake cover of a magazine about himself, lying every day and destroying the country.
Okay.
It's a good feeling.
Well, Donald Trump, again, being a schmuck. He looked like a thug. He looked like a goon. You look at the handshake. You look at this. Just what a thug! What an embarrassment! Look, he's mauling him like an idiot. This is so unbalanced. This is so. He is not well. He's Vladimir Putin's hostage. It would be like somebody pooping their pants and then people looking at it and saying, "Oh, that's modern art." Don't you understand? I am making a statement against Russian aggression.
This is not funny. This is really bad. Just for the record, we're all really nervous.
And up next, highlights from our recent interview with President Trump in Pennsylvania. We asked him about the North Korean threat and so much more as we continue. The special edition of Hannity, President Trump's first year, continues.
Hey, it's me, Alec. Everybody loves...
Also a whole lot more. Take a look at some of the highlights. How are you, Mr. President?
I'm very good. Thank you, Sean.
My second interview since you've been president. You guys want to start with good news? We do have some good news.
Go ahead.
Right? You don't get a lot of good news in the media.
Well, you don't get so much.
The market's up 25% since you won. You tweeted this out that nobody in the media brings it up, so I said, you know what, I'm going to bring it up tonight. $5.2 trillion in wealth created. We have the lowest unemployment rate in 16 years. We have the best labor participation rate in 7 years and the lowest number of people on food stamps in 7 years.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly right. It's going really well. I'm loving it. I'm doing a job for the people, and people are seeing that. And I'm so proud of the $5.2 trillion of increase in the stock market. Now, if you look at the stock market, that's one element, but then we have many other elements. The country, we took it over, it owed $20 trillion. As you know, the last 8 years, they borrowed more than it did in the whole history of our country. So they borrowed more than $10 trillion, right? And yet we picked up $5.2 trillion just in the stock market, possibly picked up the whole thing in terms of the first 9 months, in terms of value. So you could say in one sense, we're really increasing values, and maybe in a sense, we're reducing debt. But we're very honored by it, and we're very, very happy with what's happening on Wall Street.
You came back to Pennsylvania. I know you've been in Wisconsin and Michigan and Ohio and North Carolina because a lot of people still need opportunity and jobs. Right. You're really here. You're going to be talking at length about your economic plan.
That's right.
Let's talk about it.
Okay. Well, first of all, it's a massive tax cut. And, you know, it's a reform, but it's a massive tax cut. Somehow You know, when we first introduced it, and for years they talk about tax reform, I said the problem with the word reform, nobody understands what it means. Because reform could mean you're going to raise taxes. This is the largest tax cut in the history of our country. It is incredible. It's going to put people to work. So right now, Sean, we are the highest taxed nation in the world. And we're going to be now down in the lower rung in terms of taxes.
There was a lot of coverage of your phrase. They would report it in the media, cryptic phrase, the calm before the storm. It seemed related to Rocket Man, his term. Kim Jong-un. In terms of him having ICBM capability, nuclear capability, firing missiles over Japan, our ally, threatening Guam, and potentially maybe being able to reach the United States, continental United States, with a nuclear weapon. At some point, this is going to come to a head. What was the calm before the storm?
We can't let this to go on. We just can't. Now, you can say what you want. This should have been handled 25 years ago. It should have been handled 20 years ago and 10 years ago and 5 years ago. It should have been handled by numerous, not just Obama, but certainly President Obama should have taken care of it. Now it's at a point where it's very, very far advanced. Something has to be done. We can't allow this to happen. Now, China's been very helpful, I think, you know, who knows? They seem to be very helpful. They cut off banking to North Korea. That's something they've never done before. They've cut down, way down on the fuel, a lot of other things. We're going to see what happens. But we cannot allow this to happen. This should have been taken care of long ago. Clinton gave them billions of dollars, gave them lots of other things, and before the contract, the ink was dry on the contract, they were already starting again with the missiles and with the nuclear, frankly. So we are in a position, look, we're very strong. I'm building up the military like nobody's ever seen. We're close to $800 billion in spending. Sean, I don't know if you know, but the military, our military was totally, you know, really depleted. You look around and you see what's going on. You take a look at what we're buying right now with the jet fighters and all of the equipment we're buying. And, you know, it's two things, really. It is jobs, and that's far less important. But we build the greatest military equipment in the world. We have missiles that can knock out a missile in the air 97% of the time. And if you send two of them, it's going to get knocked out.
Is it fair to say if he keeps firing missiles, that's going to end?
Well, I don't want to say anything. I don't want to say anything. I'm just telling you, I don't want to talk about it because, you know, all these people, they talk. I remember with Mosul, and, you know, I use this all the time with Mosul. We are going to be attacking Mosul in 4 months. We're attacking Mosul in 3 months. I say, why do they keep saying it? Attack, do it, or don't do it, or whatever. But they kept talking about it. And by the way, it turned out to be hell on wheels. It was hard because they were so totally prepared. And I'm not saying I'm doing anything, and I'm not saying I'm not. But we shouldn't be talking about it.
Calm before the storm, you're not going to talk about that either?
No, I don't talk about it. No.
Iran, it was interesting. It was interesting. Bill Clinton, when he made the deal with Kim Jong-un's father, Kim Jong-il, he actually said, this is a good deal for the American people. It was not. It seems the same mistake was made with President Obama and the Iranian deal. There's reports you will decertify this. You can also pull out of it. John Bolton suggesting you just pull out completely. Why decertify and not just scrap it?
Well, you can do both, to be honest with you. You can do both. You can decertify and then, I know exactly what I'm going to do, but I can't give it away tonight. But I'm going to be announcing it very shortly. But
why not, right?
But I will. I mean, there's no secret. I think it was one of the most incompetently drawn deals I've ever seen. $150 billion given. We got nothing. We got nothing. They got a path to nuclear weapons very quickly. And think of this one, $1.7 billion in cash. This is cash out of your pocket. What? You know how many airplane loads that must be? Did you ever see $1 million like a promotion where they have $1 million in $100 bills? It's a lot of. This is $1.7 billion. You'd almost say, who would be authorized to do it? And who are the people that deliver it? You may never see them again, right? But,
plane loads.
But just plane loads. So this is the worst deal. We got nothing. We got nothing. So I'm not giving anything away, but I've been saying this for a long time. You have people dancing and screaming in the streets of Iran. Now, I have to tell you, those people are possibly staged, because I happen to believe the people of Iran are great people and they want freedom and they want to be sort of friendly with us. I really believe that. But they're dancing in the streets and they're singing Death to America, and Kerry's out there negotiating a deal and giving up every single point. He'd go in, we'd like this, you're not having it, done, done, done. It's the worst deal I've ever seen. Whether it's countrywide or any other wide, there is no worse deal. So we will see what happens pretty soon. A lot of people are guessing, but maybe there's not so much guessing. But it was an incompetently drawn deal. Look, it's a very bad deal. I'm not saying anything different tonight that I have been saying for 2 years. It's a horrible, horrible embarrassment to our country. And we did it out of weakness when actually we had great strength.
And coming up, this was the first show on cable to sit down with President Trump once he got into the White House. We're going to play you some of the highlights from our first interview with the president as we continue the special edition of Hannity.
Fox News Channel is bringing you an all-American New Year's celebration from New York City and around the country. Catch the biggest live performances and join the conversation using hashtag Fox News 2018. Kick back and
live from America's News headquarters. I'm Kelly Wright in New York. Here's what's happening. The death toll rising now following days of violent protests in Iran. 13 people, including a police officer, have died. Hundreds of people have also been arrested. The protesters are upset about the current economic situation in Iran. They're the largest demonstration since the disputed 2009 presidential election. The unrest began Thursday in Mashhad and has spread to several cities. A life-threatening deep freeze sweeping across large parts of the U.S. The National Weather Service issuing wind chill advisories Monday, covering a vast area from South Texas all the way to Canada, and from Montana and Wyoming in the west through New England in the east. The chilly weather is already blamed for at least 2 deaths, and Omaha's temperature of 15 below has broken a record since 1884. I'm Kelly Wright. Back to
Welcome back to the special edition of Hannity. President Trump's first year. Now back in January, we traveled down to Washington, D.C. to interview the president at the White House. We focused on his agenda, the liberal, biased mainstream media, and we also got a tour of the Oval Office. Let's take you inside. Mr. President, good to see you.
Thank you.
What a week this has been.
It's been a great week. We have accomplished a lot.
Well, that's what I want. First, I got some time to talk with you earlier in the week in the Oval Office. And the thing that really stood out to me is you seem to be enjoying yourself and very focused on all the promises you made in the campaign. Is it your intention to keep every promise?
Well, I'm going to keep as many as I can. You know, politics is tough. Sometimes you make a promise and for some reason you can't because you have opposition on the other side that raises their hand and they make it impossible. But I'm going to keep a lot of them, and I've kept a lot of them already. Everyone's talking about it. And we're going to do things that I said we were going to do. And we're going to take care of a lot of people that were mistreated by government for many, many years. And that's really how I won the election in the first place, Sean. You know that better than probably anybody.
The media, a little bit of a contentious start, if you will, with them. They want to, I've seen now the New York Times, CNN, NBC, they've used the word liar to describe you as it relates if you're talking about crowd size or
They're
voter
very
fraud.
hostile. These are very hostile people. These are very angry people.
But they also colluded against you in the campain. Yeah. And my question to you
Well, they're
is...
very dishonest people. The media is very dishonest. I've been saying it. I say it openly.
I said journalism's dead, so we agree.
Never dead, but they're very dishonest people in many cases. Hey, look, you have some very honest ones, but I get stories that are so false and so dishonest.
Martin Luther King's bust.
I wish, well, yeah, they said Martin Luther King's bust was taken out of the Oval Office by me.
It's there.
So, see, that's a very serious charge, because they're not saying the bust is taken out. What they're saying is that I'm a racist. That's what they're saying. That's a very serious charge. Then it turned out the bust, it wasn't, in fact, I got very angry at my people. I said, who took that bust out? Because I wasn't there. And they said it was never moved. It was in the same exact spot. It was never moved. I said, how could they say it? A reporter said that it was taken out. But that's a very, very serious charge, because that's a racist charge. Then when it was revealed that they were wrong, nobody even talks about it. It was a headline, massive story. Trump takes I would never do that. First of all, I had great respect for Dr. Martin Luther King. So I would never do that. But when it was revealed that it was wrong, it wasn't even a story. What I'm saying, Sean, is this. The media, much of the media, not all of it, is very, very dishonest. Honestly, it's fake news. It's fake.
Let me ask you, energy, and you know this from your years in building, it's the lifeblood of our economy.
Right.
We are dependent on foreign nations,
Right.
many of whom do not like us. We have more shale, we have new technology, we have hydrofracking, natural gas, we're the Middle East of natural gas. How important a goal is it that you want this country to move towards energy independence?
Very important. It's very important.
Can you do it in 4 years?
Oh, I think you can do it in a lot less than that. No, it's very important. No, they stop you environmentally. They use the environment to stop a lot of good things, not only energy, buildings and factories, plants. They use it to stop things. It's like a roadblock, but that's not going to happen anymore. And by the way, I'm an environmentalist, okay? I believe strongly in the environment, and I'm going to protect the environment. But you don't have to have a man who wants to build a factory or a person or a company wait 10 years going through approvals. At the end of the 10-year, get rejected, okay?
You mentioned the forgotten man a lot, both during the campaign.
And woman.
And woman, and in your inaugural speech. And you mentioned it last night. I gave you statistics, the very first interview I did with you. 95 million Americans out of the labor force, nearly 50 million in poverty, 44 million Americans on food stamps.
I've never heard you say that, Sean.
I say it every night.
I'm kidding.
One day you asked me, what are those numbers you give? You said. But explain, by getting rid of regulation, energy independence, jobs that'll be created, a 15% from the highest corporate tax rate to the lowest corporate tax rate in the industrialized world, and repatriating trillions. How does that help and impact those people I talk about all the time?
Well, hugely. We're going to have jobs. We're going to have good jobs. We don't have good jobs anymore. We're going to have good jobs. This is the Oval Office. The great statue of
That's Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln.
By the way,
there's the bust.
There's the bust.
The bust of Martin Luther King, which was falsely reported that it was taken out of the office. When I arrived, it was immediately taken out. These are lying people. These are bad people. And Martin Luther King is here, will always be here. And the apology was this.
Yeah. Did you pick
and look
every
who's
painting
above?
in here?
Look, Alexander Hamilton, Thomas Jefferson.
We get a shot of these.
I did.
You picked every painting?
I moved paintings around the White House. I just thought it would be great. So we have George Washington, Honest Abe Lincoln. You have Andrew Jackson, who they say was the most like my campaign because his was a vicious campaign.
It was a pretty rough campaign.
We have a book on Adams and Jefferson. That was the most vicious campaign in the history of our country until this campaign.
When you first walk in this office every day and you think of it,
it's great. Just take a look. And look at my desk. Papers. You don't see presidents with papers
I
on
got
their desk.
one question about the desk, and you have Ivanka and Jared have young kids. Are we going to see one of the young kids maybe crawling through there?
Could be. I think that's
John
a good
F. Kennedy
idea
Jr.?
before they get too old.
Yeah.
But that was John. That's a secret door
Yeah.
in that desk, and that was a famous picture.
Why did you pick that desk?
Well, it was Ronald Reagan. It was a lot of great presidents, actually. FDR, Roosevelt. We've had a lot of great presidents using this desk, and I thought that would be the appropriate desk. You know, when I came here, you have a right to use your desk and this, and you can pick. They have like 7 desks.
You were very impressed with your phones too.
Well, I have great phones. I have phones that, let me tell you, the technology that we have in this country is incredible. Unfortunately, perhaps we don't use it, but
well, we need to.
It is great, and the experts that do this work, we have really brilliant people doing it.
I assume you're going to be putting. There's a picture of your father.
Picture
that you
of
just
my
added.
father, right?
That wasn't there yesterday.
Right. No, it wasn't. I just added that. That's good. You know that, huh?
I did notice
well,
that.
you picked that up fast.
And why did you choose the rug of Reagan? You could have also designed your own.
Yeah, and others, but I thought that first of all, I liked it. I like the look. I like the lightness. And I like having it be Reagan. I like Reagan. I disagreed with him on some things, primarily trade.
Trade, yeah.
He was not as strong on trade as I felt he should have been, but that's okay. But he represented us very well.
In your lifetime, who was the president that maybe you admired the most?
Well, I liked Reagan. I didn't like him on trade, but other than trade, I liked him very much.
Yeah.
And he was okay on trade, but not great.
I was surprised, my last question for you, I was surprised last night, I was watching your interview and you were holding up the letter that Barack Obama had left you.
Right.
Seemed like a lengthy letter.
It was.
And you seem to have a personal rapport with him, and you were right, this was a really, really incredibly vicious campaign.
What amazed me is that I was vicious to him in statements. He was vicious to me in statements. And here we are getting along, we're riding up Pennsylvania Avenue, we don't even mention it. I guess that's the world of politics. But I was tough on him, he was tough on me. And I like him, he likes me. I think he likes me. I mean, you're going to have to ask him, but I think he likes me.
He doesn't talk to me.
Not too much.
No, he doesn't talk to me.
I can't figure out why.
Yeah.
But look, you know, he wrote me a very nice letter, beautiful letter.
Yeah. Helpful to you?
It's something to think about.
Yeah.
I agree with the letter he wrote.
My very last question.
Yes.
Has this whole experience changed you in ways, in any way that you can think of?
I don't think I've had the time to be changed because I'm cutting the prices of airplanes. I'm cutting the prices of army tanks.
You're working.
I'm cutting the prices of submarines. You know, we're lacking submarines and we're going to build new submarines, but the price is too high. So I'm cutting the prices way down. Doing a lot of work. In addition to getting Ford, General Motors, and some others to let's start building cars here, right?
Mr. President, good to see you. Thank you for your time.
much.
You've been very generous.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate
Take care
it.
of yourself.
And coming up, more of the special edition of Hannity, President Trump's first year, right after this. We hope you'll set your DVR so you never miss an episode of Hannity. Now, by the way, we will never be, ever, the establishment, destroy Trump media, always fair and balanced. Thanks for being with us. Have a great night.